Hey guys. Welcome back to my channel HZR Services. Today we discuss an academic writing in the video, which helps you make money online. Before we start, please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon. Most people do not have a job and want to support their family, and they want to make money online. People are looking to have an additional income source with an increase in the price of commodities, goods or services, and the unemployment rate. Most students try to make money online in their free time, and sometimes, they become the victim of scammers. If you are a student and would like to be familiar with how to make money online, you came to the right channel. There are many from which some are legal, and some are illegal. When we search about earn money online, we came to know many ways to make money online, from which one is academic writing. Academic writing. Academic writing is generally quite formal, objective, impersonal, and technical. It is formal by avoiding casual or conversational language, such as contractions or informal vocabulary. It is impersonal and objective by avoiding direct reference to people or feelings and instead emphasizing objects, facts, and ideas. It is technical by using vocabulary specific to the discipline. Producing written work as part of a university exam, essay, dissertation, or other forms of assignment requires an approach to organization, structure, voice, and language use that differs from other forms of writing and communication. Academic writing is a language that no one is born speaking. Understanding more about your discipline's conventions and the specific features and conventions of academic writing can help you develop confidence and make improvements to your written work. Academic writing is part of a complex process of finding, analyzing and evaluating information, planning, structuring, editing and proofreading your work, and reflecting on feedback that underpins written assessment at university. There are many resources available to help you develop your skills relating to all stages of the process. Formal language. You can make your writing more formal through the vocabulary that you use. For academic writing, choose formal instead of informal vocabulary. For example, somewhat is more formal than a bit insufficient is more formal than not enough. Avoid contractions. For example, use did not rather than didn't. Avoid emotional language. For example, instead of strong words such as wonderful or terrible, use more moderate words such as helpful or problematic. Instead of using absolute positives and negatives, such as proof or wrong, use more cautious evaluations, such as strong evidence or less convincing. Objective language. Although academic writing usually requires you to be objective and impersonal, not mentioning personal feelings, often, you may still have to present your opinion. For example, you may need to interpret findings, evaluate a theory, develop an argument, critique the work of others, to express your perspective and still write in an objective style. You can use the following strategies. Move information around in the sentence to emphasize things and ideas instead of people and feelings. For example, instead of writing "I believe the model is valid, based on these findings," write "These findings indicate that the model is valid." Avoid evaluative words that are based on non-technical judgments and feelings. For example, use valid or did not demonstrate instead of amazing or disappointment. Avoid intense or emotional evaluative language. For example, instead of writing "Parents who smoke are abusing their children," write "Second-hand smoke has some harmful effects on children's health." Use modality to show caution about your views or to allow room for others to disagree. For example, instead of writing "I think second-hand smoke causes cancer," write "There is evidence to support the possibility that second-hand smoke increases cancer's risk." Find authoritative sources, such as authors, researchers, and theorists in books or articles, who support your point of view, and refer to them in your writing. For example, instead of writing language is, in my view, clearly something social, right? As Halliday, 1973, argues, language is intrinsically social. Different disciplines often have quite different expectations about how objective or subjective your writing can be. For example, it is acceptable to use the first person in some fields, such as my view is that, while in other fields, this is not acceptable. You should look at the convention used in published articles in your discipline area and check with your lecturer. Technical language. As well as using formal language, you also need to write technically. This means that you need to develop a large vocabulary for the concepts specific to your writing discipline or specialization. To do this, take note of the terminology used by your lecturer and tutor, as well as in your readings. Be careful about the meaning of technical terms. Often the same word has a different meaning in another discipline. For example, discourse is a technical term used in multiple disciplines with different meanings. Ensure you also understand and use the key categories and relationships in your discipline, that is, the way information and ideas are organized into groups. For example, in law, law is separated into two types, common law and statute law. Knowing these distinctions will help you structure your writing and make it more technical and analytical. The essay workflow on the right highlights the number of stages and skills involved in the academic writing process. This resource will help you with some of these stages, but you may want to explore other sections of study skills online, too, including the following: critical thinking and writing, essay structure and planning, developing an academic argument, proofreading your academic work, reflecting on your academic progress. The conventions of academic writing. Conventions rather than rules define academic writing. This means that they are flexible and adaptable. The point is not for you and your peers to produce identical pieces of work, but to provide a shared framework of communication that allows specialists within a field to access information, ideas and concepts quickly and easily. The following resources are designed to introduce good academic writing conventions and provide you with ideas and techniques to apply to your academic assignments. Critical thinking and writing. Whatever you're studying, you'll likely be asked to use and demonstrate critical thinking. This term covers a range of things across different subjects, but, in essence, it means a willingness to ask questions. Why has this experiment turned out the way it has? How might the design of this product be improved? What influenced this author's opinion? When you think critically, you don't just accept information or situations that are given to you. You try to understand why they are the way they are. You ask what other possibilities exist and what you might be able to do about them. Thinking critically is the pumping heart of academic work, keeping the whole business alive. If we aren't prepared to think critically about the world around us, who will? Critical thinking is an everyday skill that we need to navigate the world around us, from advertising to politics and fake news. Like many core skills, thinking critically in an academic environment will build on our existing capabilities, but it should also stretch them. Just like physical exercise, there's an element of necessary discomfort in this. However, the outcome will ultimately be positive, and you should leave university with a broader range of tools for thinking and acting critically. What does critical analysis look like in practice? A paragraph or section of critical analysis will demonstrate that you have read one or more sources and that you understand what the implications of the sources are for your work. It is likely to involve the following stages, organized within a single paragraph or across multiple paragraphs in a more extended section of analysis. Describe the evidence. What does the source tell us? If you agree with it, use strong reporting language. Jones et al. Demonstrate, Jones et al. Identify. If not, show your skepticism with weak reporting language. Jones et al. Argue, Jones et al. Claim. Identify limitations and gaps. Is the research robust? What limitations have the author, S, themselves identified? Does other research help to fill in the gaps? Highlight alternatives. Are there other possible interpretations? Does other research contradict the findings? Has there been a chronological development of the field, i.e. have views changed over time? Synthesize sources to show your interpretation. Can you summarize your position based on the process you have followed above? What does this mean for your argument or hypothesis? From description to analysis. You might read about the need to demonstrate critical thinking, writing or analysis in your academic feedback but remain unsure how to make the change from description to critical analysis. Some description is usually necessary to set the scene in each paragraph, but you need to make sure that you aren't just telling the story of other people's findings and theories. Things that you could express in your writing include, is this research or evidence credible? How could it be improved? Have other people made opposing claims? How does it relate to the other evidence in your argument? Here are some examples illustrating the differences between descriptive and critical analytical writing. Descriptive writing states what happened. Analytical writing identifies the significance of something that happened. Descriptive writing states what something is like. Analytical writing evaluates its strengths and weaknesses. Descriptive writing states the order in which things happened. Analytical writing structures information in order of importance. Descriptive writing explains what a theory says. Analytical writing discusses the importance, failings, or relevance of a theory concerning a topic or idea. Descriptive writing explains how something works. Analytical writing indicates why something will work best. Descriptive writing notes the methods used. Analytical writing evaluates whether the extent to which the methods used were fit for the purpose. Descriptive writing, this said when something occurred. Analytical writing identifies why timing is of importance. Descriptive writing states the different components. Analytical writing weighs up the importance of parts. Descriptive writing states links between items. Analytical writing shows the relevance of links between pieces of information. Descriptive writing gives information. Analytical writing draws conclusions. Have a go at identifying how descriptive or critical you have been in your writing. Look at the descriptive or critical writing template and use it to explore an example of your work. Have you found the right balance of description and critical analysis? How do the experts do it? Socratic questioning. Socratic questioning is a rigorous evaluation technique that can be used to test claims and assumptions. It is named after the ancient Greek philosopher Socrates, who encouraged his students to reach their conclusions by questioning and examining ideas, rather than accepting ideas and information at face value. Socrates was sentenced to death by drinking the poison hemlock for daring to challenge the Athenian state's authority, or in the words of his disciple Plato, for not believing in the gods of the state. His legacy is an approach that foregrounds the importance of seeking evidence before making assumptions and being willing to question authority. Types of Socratic question. There are 6 categories of the Socratic question set out below, with prompts on how you might apply these to your evaluation of sources and evidence. Seeking clarification. How does this relate to the topic? What else do you need to find out about the topic? Probing assumptions. What is the claim based on? Can the claim be checked or verified elsewhere? Probing evidence. What is the evidence or proof? What examples are provided? Are the evidence and examples valid, reliable, and sufficient? Questioning a viewpoint. What are the alternatives, views, or opinions? What are the strengths and weaknesses of the claim? Questioning implications. What might this mean in practice? What are the likely consequences? Questioning the question. Why is the question important? What might other questions also be relevant? So how might I use this in my writing? Each time you locate and read a source, these questions will help you interpret and evaluate its strengths and weaknesses. As a critical writer, it is your role to report on the evidence accurately in your writing. Some of the following phrases taken which might help. Previous studies have not dealt with. The research to date has tended to focus on. The research does not take into account. The main weakness of the study is. The main limitation of this argument is. The study overlooks. However, more recent studies suggest. A further question that needs to be asked, however, is. Legitimation code theory. Critical reading and writing are essential skills to help you draw out important information from a text and use them critically in your writing. Legitimation code theory, LCT, is a helpful way to think about the process visually. What is LCT? LCT is a theory that can be applied to a wide range of academic situations and uses what is known as a semantic wave. This wave represents the different stages of understanding and applying academic sources of information and how you then apply these sources to your academic work. It helps to visualize the critical reading of a text, as well as for structuring essay paragraphs. Unpacking. This involves taking an academic text, identifying the critical points, and transferring this into more accessible language. This encompasses description, how you would describe what you have read or writing about to demonstrate that you understand. Evidence, what evidence or examples could be used in support of the description. This shows that you understand the context. By the end of the unpacking section, you should have reached the bottom of the semantic wave, see graph above. Repacking. This is where critical analysis comes in. Visually seeing that you need to complete the wave can help you understand if you have critically analyzed or not. This includes thinking about why what you have read written in the unpacking section is vital to your work. This means putting the context-independent topic introduced during the unpacking stage into the context of your reading, essay, or assignment. Detailing this shows that you understand why including the points you have raised are important and relevant. To finish the wave, think about concluding and drawing together all of the information you have explored and summarized it to lead nicely onto the next piece of reading, essay, or paragraph. Applying LCT in practice. When the critical analysis lacks a piece of writing, its structure will often look like the incomplete wave below. The sources have been described, unpacked, but have not been effectively analyzed, repacked. It is easy to visualize how a lack of critical analysis means that your essay's flow looks disjointed and incomplete. You can check your work by identifying the different sections of the wave in each of your paragraphs using the LCT writing framework. In contrast, a critical essay or piece of reading will typically follow a wave pattern like the one below. Ideas are unpacked, evidence and examples are explored, then the ideas are repacked using your own words to summarize and connect. It is easy then to visualize how all your paragraphs fit together and how the essay has a coherent connecting thread that runs through it. The following model maps the LCT wave onto a typical critical paragraph structure. LCT paragraph structure. Concept. Introduce the concept and main idea, also known as the main idea, being developed. This is also known as the topic sentence. Unpacking, elaborate on the concept context to unpack or explore the concept in a more specific way. Evidence and examples, introduce some concrete examples to illustrate the, now unpacked, concept. This will typically be introduced with phrases like, findings demonstrate, for example. Repacking, what can be learned or drawn out of the example, to shed further light on the concept. This repacking process demonstrates your interpretation understanding of the concept. Rounding off, summarize and draw together the points made about the main idea to create a complete message of what is discussed within the paragraph. Structure and planning. The essay is a focused, academic discussion of a particular question, problem, or issue. There are all sorts of reasons why essays are common forms of assessment. They allow you to explore a problem in depth, express yourself concisely and precisely, and debate other people's published opinions on a topic. They're also a good warm-up for traditional forms of academic publication, such as the journal article. Many of you have been writing essays for years and are probably good at it. That's great, and everything you look at from here will build on and develop those skills. But it's worth asking, are there different things expected of a university essay from those for school, college, or other contexts? The obvious answer is yes, and it takes time and effort to learn the range of writing skills needed to produce university essays effectively. There are all sorts of reasons why essays are common forms of assessment. They allow you to explore a problem in depth, express yourself concisely and precisely, and debate other people's published opinions on a topic. They're also a good warm-up for traditional forms of academic publication, such as the journal article. Academic essays usually follow an established organizational structure that helps the writer to express their ideas clearly and the reader to follow the thread of their argument. Its content and argument guide essay structure so that every essay question will pose unique structural challenges. Have a look at our glossary of essay instruction words, or watch the short video below to identify what is required. Having a clearer understanding of the most effective ways to structure your writing can help you plan and organize your essay's content and make sure you get your ideas across in the form of a coherent argument. Essay writing is a process with many stages. See the flow chart for an example. Breaking the task down and creating a clear plan will allow you to focus your attention more fully on the writing process itself when you put your plan into action, either as part of an assignment or an exam. Developing your argument. Arguments and ideas lie at the heart of most academic writing. Academic essays usually follow an established organizational structure that helps the writer to express their ideas clearly and the reader to follow the thread of their argument. Its content and argument guide essay structure so that every essay will pose unique structural challenges. Still, the skill of getting a clear and articulate argument is an integral part of the writing process. The structure of an argument. At the heart of all arguments is a claim, the central premise you are interested in proving. Establishing your claim is one of the most critical parts of any academic work piece, an essay, a presentation, a dissertation, research paper, or thesis. A good claim should be bold, exciting, and most importantly, worth arguing over. A version of your claim will probably be included somewhere in your introduction. To convince your reader of your claim, you will need to provide some proof. Your proof will be in the form of evidence, data, sources, and examples, all of which will need to be fully referenced in the appropriate style. However, it is crucial to recognize that relevant evidence does not automatically prove a claim. There is usually some work to convince your reader that there is a connection, i.e., how and why does this evidence inform your thinking. This part of the argument is sometimes called a warrant. It is also essential to consider and actively seek out alternative points of view and potential objections. There is sometimes a tendency to be drawn to ideas that explicitly or implicitly support our ways of thinking, the echo chamber, resulting in narrow or flawed arguments. By engaging deliberately with objections and building them into our thinking, we can develop more nuanced and rounded arguments. Your conclusion will draw on this research process and thinking to present a balanced summary of the argument, using cautious language as appropriate to the strength of your findings. You may be able to use this as an opportunity to make some predictions or recommendations, suggest some practical applications, or identify openings for further research. Proofreading. Proofreading is a vital and often overlooked academic skill that can improve the quality of your written work at university and beyond. But there is more to proofreading than just checking your work. These videos and suggestions will introduce you to some of the main things to watch out for when you are proofreading and some valuable strategies to ensure that you are getting the most out of your proofreading and producing polished written work free from avoidable errors. Proofreading is the process of checking the text for errors and mistakes. It commonly concentrates on writing aspects such as grammar, spelling, and punctuation. But more in-depth proofreading might also pick out questions of style, clarity, and structure. In much academic work, you will also need to check the presentation of numbers, referencing, and the overall formatting. For something straightforward, proofreading can be deceptively tricky. It's a real challenge to find grammatical or spelling errors in the text, especially in writing with which you're very familiar. Your eye and brain know what they expect to find, so they don't pay close attention to what is there. This is why it can help leave written work for a day or two before proofreading it. Reading your work aloud or even reading pages from the bottom up to keep your concentration sharp. Proofreading is essential in all writing because it's frequently the tiny details that matter. You don't want your reader, whether that's a lecturer, a potential employer, or anyone else, to be distracted by errors on the surface of your text. You want them to engage with all the good things you have to say. Getting to grips with grammar. If grammar is an issue and you would like some further training and guidance, please check out the English Language Teaching Center's online grammar bank. It provides interactive online training in academic grammar with a series of short activities that you can apply to your academic writing. Reflective practice. Throughout your time at university, you will be asked to think and write reflectively. Sometimes what we've learned from an activity or piece of work isn't always obvious, which is why we reflect on our experiences. Recording what happened and turning your insights into an action plan isn't always easy, and this online resource will take you step by step through that process. What is meant by reflection? A definition of reflective thinking. Evaluating your first-hand experience of an event, process, or activity, then analyzing the reasons for the things that have gone well and less well, then learning from the experience to improve or refine your performance if a similar situation arises again. Reflective writing is evidence of reflective thinking in which your personal experience forms a case study or data set for exploration. Reflective writing is a method for transforming this powerful subjective experience into a form of academic evidence by putting it into a broader context and drawing out its implications. The Gibbs reflective learning cycle is a valuable model for structuring a reflective piece of writing. Keep track of your experiences and how they made you feel at the time by using a diary, journal, or reflective learning log. Later on, you can use this accumulated experience to identify patterns or make generalizations about your working ways. This will allow you to compare your experience with the literature and draw conclusions that identify plans for tackling similar situations differently in the future, or draw on your experience of what has gone well to gain confidence. Academic language. Academic writing uses a more formal register than everyday communication. The following are 4 critical conventions to follow that will help you to hit the right level of formality in your writing. Use Latinate verb forms and avoid casual language. Academic writing tends to adopt formal language derived from Latin rather than Anglo-Saxon roots. This distinction is particularly evident in the use of verbs in academic language. In general, phrasal verbs are used when speaking, e.g. in presentations, whilst Latinate verbs are used in academic writing, e.g. essays. Phrasal language is more informal, whilst Latinate verbs sound posher and more academic. Phrasal verbs tend to come in 2 parts, they use a verb together with an adverb or preposition. There is often a one-word equivalent, which usually comes from Latin root, reflecting the origins of formal English among educated Romans and the Church. Examples include: carry out equals perform, talk about equals discuss, look up to equals respect. Why is this useful? Latinate verbs use fewer words, so they can help you develop a more concise writing style. Latinate verbs can also be more specific than their phrasal equivalents. For example, the phrasal verb set up has several Latinate equivalents. A room, I'm going to arrange the room for the meeting. An experiment, the experiment was prepared. An organization, the NSPCC was established in 1884. It is okay to use a mixture of phrasal and Latinate verbs in your writing and tailor it to your assignment. For example, if writing a more informal blog post, you may want to use more phrasal language. Some common academic examples are: phrasal, carry out; Latinate, perform. Example, the experiment was carried out performed. Phrasal, find out; Latinate, investigate. Example, this project aims to find out investigate. Phrasal, leave out; Latinate, omit. Example, therefore, this was left out of omitted from the analysis. Phrasal, point out; Latinate, explain. Example, in this section, I will point out explain. Phrasal, set up; Latinate, establish. Example, the experimental apparatus was set up assembled. Phrasal, look into; Latinate, explore. Example, the literature review will look into explore the reasons. Phrasal, effect on; Latinate, influence. Example, the results show that X has affected influenced Y. Phrasal, come up with; Latinate, generate. Example, the group had to come up with generate ideas for their project. Phrasal, hold onto; Latinate, retain. Example, they held onto or retained the idea that. It is okay to use a mixture of phrasal and Latinate verbs in your writing and tailor it to your assignment. For example, if writing a more informal blog post, you may want to use more phrasal language. But awareness of how and when to use different registers of language can improve the level of formality of your writing. Avoid contractions and abbreviations. Academic writing tends to avoid the types of contractions and abbreviated language you might use in other communication forms. In some cases, this is obvious, but in other cases, where abbreviations have become commonly used forms of words, e.g. quote quotation, bike bicycle, flu influenza, it can be more challenging to spot. For example, academic writing, are not is not. Everyday writing, aren't isn't. Academic writing, it will. Everyday writing, it'll. Academic writing, should not cannot. Everyday writing, should not cannot. Academic writing, quotation. Everyday writing, quote. Academic writing, UK. Everyday writing, United Kingdom. However, some commonly used abbreviations or acronyms relating to the discipline will often need to be used to enhance your writing's clarity and reduce the word count. In these cases, it is vital to use the complete form of the abbreviated name or phrase in the first instance, including the parenthesis abbreviation. For example, a key role has always been played by the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. World Health Organization, WHO, recommendations state. The use of an electrocardiogram, ECG, is recommended. The addition of trichloroacetic acid, TCA, will result in. Please note, specific significantly commonly used acronyms have become part of common usage and do not require further explanation within a text. For example, AIDS, laser, radar, scuba. Use neutral and objective language. Academic writing tends to strive for the appearance of objectivity. Although you will undoubtedly have an informed opinion or theory that you are trying to get across in your writing, it is vital to building a compelling objective case for your ideas using evidence and data. It is not uncommon to use the first person, I, in academic writing, but only as a further development of your objective analysis and interpretation to indicate where your original contribution takes over. Avoid overusing the first person, I, and use passive forms where possible. The experiment was conducted. Evidence suggests a sample was taken. Watch out for adjectives that imply a value judgment: fantastic, brilliant, rubbish, attractive, sound, etc. Avoid using cliched phrases, a hot topic, the other side of the coin. At the end of the day, the fact of the matter in the current climate. Avoid overstatement. Make cautious use or avoid the following altogether: significantly, very, really, always, never, a lot, the most, the least. Always check department guidelines on the use of first person, I, forms in your writing. Some scientific writing may require no first person forms to be used, while some reflective assignments may require the first person to present personal experience. Use evidence. Academic writing draws on evidence and sources to present a balanced view of all facts, and theories should be referenced using a standard system. Harvard, MHRA, APA, Chicago, etc. Author date or footnotes. Include a bibliography of everything that has informed your writing. Check your department policy on a preferred method. Visit the library referencing pages for more information, examples, and tutorials. Always check department guidelines. Paragraphs and flow. Paragraphs are the building blocks of your written work, and a good essay or assignment will organize the content clearly at a paragraph level. However, in academic writing, paragraphs can be tricky to structure due to the complexity of ideas you are likely to be working with. The following structure is not the only way to write a paragraph. Still, it is a standard model used in academic writing to critically and analytically build sources and evidence into your writing. You are writing good paragraphs, unity. A paragraph will usually discuss only one idea as outlined in the first sentence, the topic sentence. If you find a paragraph drifting away from this central idea, it is time to split it into more than one paragraph. The opening sentence of a paragraph should outline the main idea, topic sentence. Every supporting sentence should directly explain, refer back to, or build on the main idea using specific evidence and examples where possible. Use the final sentence, S, to refer back to the topic sentence and lead into the following paragraph. Flow and connectivity. The skill of structuring your writing and building effective connections between paragraphs will allow you to develop and sustain a compelling argument in your written work. Setting out your ideas and evidence with a natural flow will make your work much more readable. This important technique will help you work towards higher levels of attainment in assignments and improve your everyday writing quality. Paraphrasing. When you are producing a writing piece at university, you will often want to talk about what someone else has written about the topic. Quoting and paraphrasing are two distinct ways of doing this. You are quoting means directly including in your work the published words or other data you have found in a source. Paraphrasing means expressing in your own words the ideas, arguments, words, or other material you have found published elsewhere. There are many reasons for quoting or paraphrasing in your work. Still, essentially these techniques allow you to show your understanding of current knowledge about the topic you are studying and respond to that knowledge in your work. Remember that you will need to cite and reference all of the sources that have informed your work. It is a complex linguistic skill to incorporate others' work smoothly and efficiently into your own by quoting or paraphrasing. Skillful use of sources and selective quoting and paraphrasing are essential elements of the critical writing process, which is in greater detail on the critical thinking pages. It is also a critical skill of academic writing that will help ensure that your work does not include plagiarism elements. For more information on plagiarism, including suggestions on avoiding it, see the following resource from the Department of Physics and Astronomy. As with other aspects of working with sources, it is essential to follow your department's specific guidelines about these skills. When to quote and when to paraphrase. Direct quote, if you are referring to a formal definition in which the specific language is important. Paraphrase, to elaborate on or explain a concept or definition to your reader. Direct quote, if you are quoting an opinion, with which you do not necessarily agree. Paraphrase, to engage critically with an opinion or source and demonstrate that you understand it fully. Direct quote, if you are reporting direct speech, e.g. the reactions or experience of someone involved. Paraphrase, to summarize the reactions or experience of one or more individual. Direct quote, if you wish to highlight specific features of the author's writing style. Paraphrase, if the general concept is more important than the specific language used. Editing and proofreading. Once you've written your assignment, it's essential to edit and proofread your work. Depending on the type of assignment and your process of writing, editing may involve removing or adding text to meet the word limit, making your sentences more transparent and more concise, restructuring paragraphs or sections, making sure your ideas flow logically, making sure you've provided enough background information, adding in subheadings or sentences to signpost the structure. Once you've edited your work, proofread it. This involves checking spelling, grammar and references. Help editing and proofreading. There is no editing or proofreading service at the university. However, you can develop techniques to edit and proofread your work. The Learning Center runs workshops and offers individual consultations where you can discuss ways to improve your writing. Bring an assignment that has already been marked as a sample of your work, and the Learning Center lecturer can identify what your problem is and advise you on how to avoid them in the future. A Learning Center lecturer cannot edit unmarked work that you intend to submit. At most, the lecturer can give you general feedback based on reading 1 or 2 pages. This would include advice on structure, clarity, expression, aspects of grammar, but does not involve editing and proofreading. If you want to use this service, begin well before your submission date, as it aims to help you develop writing skills, not to fix up mistakes. If you're a postgraduate student and willing to spend money, a list of private proofreaders and editors can be obtained. You may also find proofreaders who advertise their services on notice boards around the university. Plagiarism. Plagiarism is using someone else's work as if it were your own. It is a type of academic dishonesty. Make sure you're familiar with what is considered plagiarism and what the consequences are. Avoiding plagiarism. To avoid plagiarism, you need to be aware of what it is and have good writing skills and referencing knowledge. You need to be able to paraphrase and summarize, Know when to quote a source and when to paraphrase it. Link information from sources with your ideas. Correctly use referencing conventions. When you quote a source, you use an extract precisely as used in by the source. You indicate a quote by using quotation marks or indenting the text for long quotes. When you paraphrase or summarize, you put the author's ideas in your own words. However, you still need to attribute the idea to the author by including a reference. It's usually better to paraphrase than a quote, as it shows a higher level of thinking, understanding, and writing skills. To rephrase ideas, you need a large vocabulary of formal and technical words for the subject matter and grammatical flexibility. To develop your skills in quoting, summarizing, paraphrasing, visiting the right site or attending a learning center workshop. If you have a language background other than English, you can also work on these skills by spending as many hours per day as possible in English conversation. You can also study the vocabulary and grammar patterns used in the books and articles you're reading for your course. Writing to a word count. If you often go over the word count on an assignment, there are several possible causes and solutions. In this online resource, we will think about the purpose of the word count, why we might go over it, and strategies to tackle it. Why is there a word count? Word counts are part of the challenge of academic writing for several reasons. To suggest a level of detail, with one topic, you could write a 100-word summary, 1,000 word essay, 10,000 word dissertation, or a 100,000-word PhD thesis. The word count indicates the level of depth you are expected to go into. To ensure fairness, each student has the same number of words to show the marker what they know. To test your communication skills, keeping within a word count requires a concise writing style and excellent communication skills. It helps you get straight to the point. To demonstrate your critical thinking skills, to stay within word counts, you need to focus on the most important and select the best examples and case studies. It puts critical thinking into practice. As a matter of practicality, markers only have a finite amount of time to mark work. Why do we go over the word count? First of all, it is essential to remember that being over the word count is better than having a blank page. The ideas are down on the page but might need refining. There are several reasons why you might have exceeded the word count. Still developing an effective structure. Do you have a clear plan, and have you stuck to it? If not, can you map out an overall structure for your essay and identify areas where you have departed from it? Fear of missing out on something important, try to be selective with examples arguments. What is your mission statement or critical argument, and how does each section help you make it? Waffling, using 200 words when 100 will do. Developing a concise academic writing style. Even if you're not over the word count, this leaves you with more words for your critical analysis and discussion. The following are some simple tips to make sure you stay within your word count. Dose, find out what counts towards your word count, for references, footnotes, abstract, captions, tables, text boxes. Don'ts, lie about your word count. Dose, consider combining related sections or cutting irrelevant sections. Don'ts, cut sections just to meet the word count. Dose, focus on condensing your key arguments. Don'ts, focus on removing individual words. This will be highly time-consuming and will make little impact on your overall count. Dose, use a concise academic writing style, e.g. avoid excessive hedging, remove redundant adjectives. Don'ts, use contractions to meet the word count, e.g. isn't, doesn't, shouldn't, this is not academic. Strategies to meet your word limit. Structure. How are you structuring your argument? Does it need developing to highlight the critical argument? Plan what your key points are and what percentage of your word count to spend on each. Are any sections disproportionately long? Avoid repeating arguments. Try reading your work backwards, paragraph by paragraph, not word by word. This can make it easier to spot ideas that are repeated, as you are viewing each paragraph individually rather than your argument as a whole. Use topic sentences at the start of each paragraph. This can help you, and the marker, identify what key point you are trying to make. Are there any paragraphs that are making the same point? Can you link them? Being selective. Are you using more examples, case studies than necessary? Are you worried about missing out on something important? Try the following. Mission statement, thesis statement. Use this to identify your key argument and how to structure it. What are your most important points, and what can you perhaps cut? Selecting evidence, it might be tempting to show all of the reading you have done. But select the most important case studies and explain why you have chosen them. This can be evidence of critical thinking. E.g., whilst many studies have examined X, a critical paper is Y because. Use the WEED model. This can help organize the reading you have done. What key pieces of evidence and what critical examples from your reading best prove your point? You don't need to show all of the reading you've done, and you need to use the best evidence and examples to make your argument. Academic language or style. Are you using 200 words where 100 will do? One way of testing this is to calculate your FOG index to find out how clear and concise you are. Some ways to keep your word count down include: use Latinate verbs, find out vs. investigate, resource for this. Replace nouns with verbs, carry out an analysis of vs. analyze. Avoid excessive hedging language. It may be possible that X could be responsible for Y, as it may be the case that. Remember, having a more concise academic writing style gives you more words to use on important things, e.g. critical analysis and discussion. It's not just about cutting the odd word here and there to get you under the word count. Thank you for all of you watching my video. If you like the video, then you like the video and post a comment.